Hey rockers, welcome back to the channel, man. Happy weekend. It is Friday and it's day 5 of doing 10 videos in 10 days. So my friends, we're going to go back to the past. Some personal stuff going on in this video about my life. I will say this, I'm going to change some names to protect the guilty. Yes, it's a fact that my name has ended up on a few lists over the years. But I've never had anyone come knocking on my door, and I really don't want that to ever happen like so many of my constituents. Yeah, man, I've had people tell me some horrid stories about getting knocks on the door because they knew some controversial people. And I've definitely known my share of controversial people. We'll leave it at that. Today we're talking about somebody that's controversial for a different reason, though, because back in about 1982, I'm going to guess that's the year, 82, 83. I was 15 or 16 years old. I started hanging out with a dude whose father was a member of the FBI. No joke, no lie. He was a member of the FBI. Now, I don't know if he was a higher up, but I think he was from the word on the street at the time. I don't know if he was a director or just a regular FBI employee. I don't know the different levels of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and I really don't have any interest. But this guy that I was hanging out with was really up to no good a lot. And I've got to tell you right now and make my disclaimer. I made some bad choices in my life, man. Especially as a teenager and in my 20s. I made a lot of really crappy decisions, man. And I'd like to think that karma has bitten me in the ass more than a few times. And I've maybe gotten some of that back. Who knows? Maybe I've got more suffering down the pike. But I'll say this, man. I made some bad decisions and I'm not proud of all the stuff that I'm telling you guys tonight. But I'm going to tell you regardless, because this is my book. I was going to write a book, right? But to write a book, you've got to write a book. You've got to, do all the editing. You've got to either publish it yourself or have somebody else publish it or find a book company, like a record label kind of. And then you got to distribute the book. And that's the problem. As I could do all the other stuff, but the distribution's always a drag. It's a pain in the ass, the whole thing. So I thought I'll make a video book because once this is on YouTube, it hits all corners of the world rather quickly. So this is my book, and each story on my video timeline on this channel is a different little chapter from what would be my book. So I'm hanging out with the FBI agent's son, right? And this guy was able to get away with a lot because of his father's stature, and he wasn't afraid to do anything. Like, this guy would pull off the most incredible scams. He would do all kinds of dark stuff, and I'm afraid to say I got involved in 2 or 3 of those dark things, right? I'm going to tell you about 2 of those things tonight, so it's going to be one story about me and the FBI agent's son, and the first story is how I got my first leather jacket because of the FBI agent's son. I was living in central Illinois, right? And started hanging out with this dude, and I knew that he was up to some shady stuff. Well, this guy went and got himself a job at a local coat company. Let's call it for what it was. Burlington Coat Factory, right? One day he calls me, and he'd been doing all kinds of scams and dastardly deeds. And he called me one day and goes, "Hey, man, I got a new job." And I go, What's your job? What's the deal now? And he goes, "I'm the head security guy at Burlington Coat Factory." I'm like, okay, what's the catch? There's no way this guy was just going to be working somewhere just to have a job. There was some catch to it in which he was going to be the one catching whatever it was, right? Turns out that he got the job there so at night he could go through like the leather jacket section and the, expensive coats, but he was especially interested in leather jackets, right? Because this guy was single-handedly creating a market to sell leather jackets on the black market. So at night, while he was working at Burlington Coat Factory, he would open the back doors, go out, take 10, 20 leather jackets and put them in the bin out back, the garbage bin, right? Lock up for the night, probably put on ski masks and who knows what later and come back and retrieve those jackets, and then he would go sell them. Yeah, what a scam, huh? Your head security guard is your biggest thief, right? I'm sure it happens in a lot of companies. But back then, I remember thinking one thing. All I thought about was one thing. Well, 2 things. You've got some balls of steel, bro. And also, I want a leather jacket. So, what did I do? I went to my mother, told her the truth. My mom was a good person, believe it or not. She had a lot of morals, was not the kind of person that broke laws. But my mom realized, hey man, how much are they? And I think it was like 20 bucks at the time. And, you know, for a leather jacket, that's cheap. So my mom literally said, go ahead and get yourself one. And I'm just going to look the other way on this one. She didn't say that. She just kind of gave me the money. So if she was here and alive today, I wouldn't tell you that story about my mom because she might get pissed off. But it is what it is, right? She looked the other way. And I got myself a jacket, man, and I started sporting my leather. And I noticed that I really liked my leather. And I got a lot of respect when I wore my leather. And it was bizarre because when you go certain places with a leather jacket on, people just assume you're either a rocker or you're in a gang or something. So you would get immediate, it was like a weird deal, man. And so I got the leather jacket, and the guy kept working there for quite a while, and he sold a lot of leather jackets, right? And that was one of the only things I can think of my mom ever breaking rules on. That's weird. I don't know why, but I think at that point I had put her through so much hell that that was nothing. And she figured this kid's going to get one way or the other. I might as well buy it for him. So the second thing was this guy started selling what he said was opium on the streets. And this was horrible. I was not part of this. But for a long time, he was going out and buying bricks of violin bow rosin. Yep, the rosin that you use on the violin bows to do whatever you do for a violin, right? You rub this stuff on the strings, I think. It's bow rosin. He was cutting this up and selling it and marketing this stuff to people to smoke, man. And it wasn't what he was saying and what it was. And it was making people sick. And I actually fell for it because my buddy that was a big dealer at the time bought a bunch of it. And he was like swearing up and down, oh no, this is the real deal, man. So we sat around smoking this and I realized, man, there's something not right about this stuff. And I'm not going to smoke any more of this stuff. And I don't know how I found out, but somehow we were talking to a musician who saw it. And he said, this stuff is violin bow rosin. Dude, he must have sold this stuff to dozens and dozens of people in central Illinois, and it went on for a long time. There were even people that I would tell them, look, it's violin bow rosin. I found out, dude, you're killing your lungs. It's not real. The guy's poisoning you. Guess what happened, man? He kept selling it anyway, and certain people kept buying it. Can you believe that crap? They kept buying it thinking, nah, it's real, and smoking this stuff. And they were buying it, you know, by quarter ounces and grams, and he was making so much money. What a bastard. But at the time, I remember losing so much respect for this guy, thinking, you know what? That's the most low thing ever. You're poisoning people, dude. So that's going to lead me to my, well, third story. You got 3 stories out of me about this FBI agent's son. I'm telling you, the guy went to high school with me. He was older than me, and he never really liked me. We never really got along except for on a physical level. I don't think he ever really liked me. I was a little bit, he was crazy in a calculating way that he would wear normal clothes, and he had his mustache and his normal good boy looks, you know. But I was more of a rockin' crazy partying dude that he just didn't jive with. So he knew that I would be a good guy to rope in and do some of these scams with him and stuff. But one of the ones he roped me in on that I didn't know was going to happen is my third and final story about the FBI agent's son and some of the shady stuff that happened. This one's a good one, okay? He tells me, hey, do you want to go hang out with me? We're going to go pick up Earl. I said, who's Earl? Well, this was about 1985. So this was down the road. I hadn't hung out with him for a long time, but he had gotten a hold of me, and I didn't think he was still involved in all the scams anymore. I had a big black mohawk, like a rooster hawk, old school mohawk, right? And I was the only one in Peoria, Illinois that looked like that at this point. Actually, it might have been 84. I think it was 84 because it wasn't quite my rooster hawk yet. It was more like a gothic mohawk. I was shaved on the sides. I'm not even sure if I had it dyed black yet because I started dyeing my hair black for decades. And then I let it go white because white is the opposite of black, and I like it. I like white. So I liked black hair, right? And at the time I thought, man, well, let's get to that. But we ended up going to pick up this guy named Earl because he was a big dealer, and he had a bunch of weed that my buddy wanted to get from him, right? And apparently he had some really good weed, but it was very expensive. And this guy was in a major gang, and we had to pick him up down at, it was either the Taft Homes. I believe it was the Warner Homes, actually. It might have been the Taft, actually. Taft Homes, which was a kind of a ghetto area in Illinois, central, Peoria, Illinois area. And I think they've actually cleaned up those areas and made them a lot nicer. They were like almost prisons for people. And I knew people that lived in those places, including family members of mine in the 50s and 60s. So it was a low-income housing is what it was. But it was a definite ghetto. And it was a very rough place. You didn't want to mess around, man. And Earl, we drive down there to pick up Earl, right? And I don't even know what's going on. I just know we're going to get some weed from Earl. And Earl's this African-American gentleman, very big, bald-headed, probably 6'5", built like a freaking linebacker. I was tripping, man, on Earl. As soon as I saw this guy, I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this dude, man. Well, anyway, we pull up. Earl gets in the car. I was in the front seat. My buddy's driving. Earl gets in the back seat, and he's got a brown bag with him, man. And in that bag was all kinds of stuff, man. Like, good cannabis, good sheesh. You know what sheesh is, right? All kinds of stuff to smoke and a whole bag of this stuff, right? Probably other stuff that I forgot about too. Anyway, we get Earl in the car. I don't know what's going to happen, but this guy's shady, man. He's not very cool. You can tell he's not liking us very much, but it's going to be a business deal of some kind. We're driving around and he's showing us various different things in this brown bag that we could purchase if we wanted to, right? Well, my buddy, my friend, right, the guy that I'm hanging out with, the FBI agent's son, decides to ask Earl, hey man, I'm going to get some booze. So he pulls up to this liquor store that you can pull up in front of and walk in and get some booze and come back out, right? This little convenient market. And he says, hey Earl, I don't have an ID, man. Would you run in and get me like, I'll buy you one if you get me like a 40 ounce, I'll buy you one, man. And Earl wasn't liking that. He wasn't thinking that was cool. He's like, man, are you kidding me? Blah, blah, blah. F this, man. But he did. He gets out and he goes inside to get the beer. And I'm like, okay, what's going to go on here, man? What's the deal? And then this guy, almost said his name. Then my friend taps me on the shoulder. He goes, hey, man, check it out. He nods in the back seat and I look in the back seat and there's that brown bag full of all the stuff, right? And I go, wow, man, that guy just left that in here. And he looks at me and he just immediately puts the car in reverse and hits the gas, peels out of there, drives the hell away. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You just ripped off one of the biggest dealers in the Taft homes. You know this guy? He's like, yeah, man. And I'm like, he's laughing like it's maniacal. He's like, good job, huh? And he's like trying to high five me. And I'm completely flabbergasted. All I keep thinking of, I'm the only guy in this town with a mohawk like this, man. And I'm always down in these ghetto areas hanging out. I mean, it's kind of where I came from, the south side of Peoria. And I was petrified for months because I kept thinking, man, if I run into that Earl guy, I'm going to pay for this stuff that my buddy orchestrated. And I had no idea that he was going to do. But the good thing is, though, we peel out of there and I was livid. I was like, dude, I'm going to get beat up one of these days. He ends up saying, look, man, just shut up. I'm going to give you half of what's in here. I'm like, what? And he did. And being that young, I never seen anything like that. So I went ahead and took it, went home, and just looked at it for a long time thinking, man, there's a guy out there right now that wants to kill us. Oh, my God. But it didn't happen, man. I could have swore I saw Earl one time after that, man, and I was petrified. But that's what happened, man, when you're hanging out with the FBI agent's son. This guy did a lot more than those stories, and there's a lot more I could tell, but I'm going to just stop it there because it gets a little bit dark, and I'm not going to implicate myself or others. I was not part of any crimes he did, but I was definitely witness to some stuff, and so if I was ever, drug into court back then, I would have been implicated unless I would have narked, and I would never rat. So I didn't give any names. It's been, since 82? Do you know how long that's been? Like 43 years ago? That's crazy, man. I'm 59 now, almost 60. So I'm pretty sure I'm okay. Nobody is probably around. I don't even know if old Earl's still around. But man, what a bunch of stories, huh? I got my leather jacket. I ended up inadvertently ripping off some dealer and smoked a bunch of stuff that wasn't real. It was violin bow rosin. Yeah, so hey, man, if you're that FBI agent's son and you're watching this video, please subscribe to my channel. If you like the tale, give me a thumbs up, rockers. Also leave a comment if you want. Just stay away from those FBI agent sons, man. Some of the stuff I got to tell on this channel, God, shame on me. Bad, bloody, bad. Okay, man, I'll be back tomorrow with another punk, rock, metal, or curveball tale. And if you have any requests for stories, leave them in the comments below, my friends. Stay out of trouble, you crazy rockers. Cheers.